all across this country. Which means this. What do you want to do with them? They can't all babysit your kids and mow your lawns and serve you food. A few months ago, I went to Alabama because I'm crazy. So Alabama tried to out Arizona. So, you know, one of my dearest friends told me recently that I'm in a walking uncomfortable conversation. And she's right. But all of us need to be having this uncomfortable conversation to get at actual truth and actual solutions. Thank you. I've done 60 events in 20 states in 11 months. I've been reporting the hell out of this thing. There are 3 questions I usually get. 1, why are you still here? I don't know, ask the Obama administration. 2, why don't you just make yourself legal? Because I'm a masochist, you know? And like, this is like so much more fun, right? Because mind you, since I admitted to all the fraud and all the things that I had to do to survive, I'm not qualified to any relief. I'm not going for a private bill because that would defeat the whole purpose of what I'm doing. And unlike Sandra Bullock in the proposal, I can't just marry my way through this. You know, it's great that the president acknowledged his support for same-sex marriage, but because of the Defense of Marriage Act, which is the law of the land, the federal government doesn't recognize same-sex marriage. So even though I live in New York and I can get married in New York, the federal government, which hands out visas, whether or not Arizona likes it, the federal government, which hands out the visas, doesn't recognize my marriage. One of my lawyers, I have a few lawyers advising me, one of them said I should sue the federal government for violating my 14th Amendment rights. I don't think I'm going to sue anybody on anything. And the third question that I get the most is, what part of legal, of illegal, don't you understand? And you know, that's a really, really uncomfortable conversation. Because it's kind of, you know, this question of, was it legal to steal land from Native Americans and massacre them in mass genocide? Was racial segregation legal? When we said that white people can sit and eat and drink from different places? Did you know that it wasn't that until 1958, it was illegal for a white person to marry a white one, for a black person to marry a white one, until 1958. 3 years later, Barack Obama was born in 1961. By the way, the same Barack Obama whose father immigrated from Kenya to Hawaii on a student visa, the same Barack Obama who's actually a first-generation American, the same Barack Obama who some people would consider an anchor baby. Now look, I am not Pollyanna about this. What luck do I have about people wanting to give me papers when the very moment that Barack Obama gets to be president of the United States, the birther movement started, asking him to prove his citizenship. The guy got elected president and people don't think he's a citizen. What luck do I have? As far as I'm concerned, we are living in an all-hands-on-deck time when it comes to this issue. You know, all I did was tell the truth. That's all I did. I just stopped lying. I could have just kept going. No one was threatening to like out me like I'm some closet Republican governor or something. I could have just kept going. But I just couldn't anymore. And to me, all of us have a role to play in broadening, right, the conversation and defining who we think an American is. So that's why for us, telling the full story of immigration kind of starts with, okay, how do you define American? So we asked Stephen Colbert.
How do I define American? I look in the mirror.
So funny. So we're getting more videos from celebrities, which is always a good thing because, you know, celebrities, people love celebrities. But more importantly, we're going to get videos from the people who live the reality of this issue, right? We're going to get videos not just from Asian people and Latinos who live with this as undocumented immigrants, but also from white people and black people who are their allies. So to me, that's what telling the full story of immigration is. And so we're going to partner up with MTV.com to start what we're calling a BFF series, Best Friends Forever series, in which we team up an undocumented dreamer with a best friend who happens to be an American citizen. So here's one story.
I'm Julia, a student at Pitzer College. I never had a sister, but my best friend, Mandeep, is like a sister to me. The summer after our freshman year of high school, Mandeep shared a secret with me.
I think what you said to me was, so you know those people who just come over the border and aren't supposed to be here? Well, I'm like that.
When I found out that my best friend was an undocumented immigrant, I realized that this is an issue that affects people in all of our lives. After graduating with honors from Los Altos High School, Mandeep got into college and began studying to be a doctor. But after her sophomore year, U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement told Mandeep she had to leave. I had to do something. First, we talked to an immigration group in Washington who started a petition to stop the deportation. I also wrote a letter to everyone in our community. Thousands of people decided to help. Her deportation was put on hold, and my best friend was allowed to stay, but only temporarily. Now her life is in limbo, and as her best friend, my life is impacted too. Mandeep, the one voted most likely to save the world, defines American. Like countless other American citizens, I'm proud to call myself a part of the 21st century Underground Railroad of supporters who are standing up for what is morally right. What would you do if you found out your best friend was an undocumented immigrant? Tell us your story and see others at definedamerican.com.
How did you manage?
Laughter, like what you're doing right now. I had to really laugh my way through this surreal. I remember, you know, my first time at the White House was at a White House state dinner for the Japanese Prime Minister when Bush was president in 2006. So to go to the White House state dinner, you need to give them, I'm reporting on this. So I had to give them a social security number for the first time.
Yeah.
And I was like, ay, putang ina. That's a bad word. Bad word. I was like, wait a second. So what if I give them this number and they find out, you know?
Yeah.
And I was waiting the whole, I was actually trying to figure out what do I tell my editor if this happens. But the funny thing was, once I got into the White House, they thought I was Japanese. So I just kept bowing and like, forget the Salahis, man. I was like, I crashed the White House when Bush was president. You know? But I mean, it was so surreal that you actually had to like, kind of laugh about it. Because none of what we're going through makes sense. Does it make sense, by the way, that in the state of Georgia, the undocumented people could only go to the top five, they can't go to the top 5 schools, God forbid? What would happen? What about this woman in Texas, a state representative in Texas, who introduced a bill 2 years ago that said that it would be a felony for people like you, an American citizen, to hire me unless I'm a house worker. That was a law, it wasn't from The Onion. It was an actual piece of legislation. When I read it, I was like, hey, why don't I go over there, bring my Pulitzer plaque, and tell her, okay, I'll mow your lawn, $500 an hour. You know, so laughter has been great, but also just thinking that I am more than this. And really, that's the message that I have to tell you. Like when I meet dreamers and what they're going through and how proud I am, and I'm sure they're proud of themselves for going through what they're going through. You know, we have been rejected by this country.
Oh yes, I can see you a poster way back in 1920s. It says, no Filipinos allowed to rent the apartment. I still have it. Yes.
Okay, I want to see that poster. But kind of my last
I
thing
had to
that
look for it.
The last thing I want to tell you is, what's been really comforting to me is really studying the civil rights movement and what black people who were born in this country had to go through. You know? And I remember when Obama got elected president, I was in DC, I was working at the Post, went to the White House, and I'm looking at the faces of elderly black people women, and men. Looking at it, just completely just looking at it as if they had just seen a unicorn.
One more thing, just one more thing.
Yes.
In spite of the fact that we brown people are very efficient in the workplace and are one of the highest taxpayers, up to today, 2000 plus, whatever, the color of the American rainbow are only black and white, no brown.
That's, but it's getting, more, there are more Latinos getting born every day, and more Asian people getting born every day, so it's going to change.
Reporting from Chicago, Joseph Gilariosa of JGLI.